Welcome to the Draft Brewery. Dr. Chris Baker DC here. We've got Deck Doctor number 2 for the Zendikar Unified Pauper Sealed League. JMason sends in his deck from week 2 today, so he's got an extra pack in this pool. And this is the first deck that he sent me. He actually sent me a second deck as well. So we'll kind of analyze both of his builds and see if we can improve it. He said he wasn't super successful with this pool, so let's see what we can do to make it better. First, I've put his utility lands on the left here and all of his removal and spells, things that wouldn't be cast on curve. Things like Kite Sail are okay because it basically counts as a 2-drop. It's a play that you can make on turn 2. So a couple things to note here is that we're playing 4 colors. It looks like he didn't show me the rest of his mana base, but it doesn't really matter all that much. He has a Thicket of Wilds to help his fixing, but the only green cards in the pool are Lifespring Druid and Saddleback Lagak. One rule that I've found in Sealed, especially playing Battle for Zendikar and Oath of the Gatewatch Sealed, you don't want to splash green just for the fixing, because this card is not even that good, and Saddleback Lagak really isn't that good either. Unless you're... What's up, Daves? Curving out and beating down. So, looking at this pool, we also have another contradiction that I don't like to see in Sealed, where you have a 1-drop that's aggressive and wants to be attacking, and an 8-drop that's basically the biggest creature in the format. The incentive is to get to the late game to win with this, or to avoid the late game and win with this. And you don't want to be on both ends. It's going to make the deck schizophrenic. So, what can we do? Well, let's analyze each card individually. On card, Caravan Escort, I think is very good. It's basically any 1-drop that can have a late game impact or an early game impact is good. Play it on turn 1. Turn 2, level it up, bash for 2, and then level it up on any turns that you have extra mana, and then 5/5 first strike is huge. So that's great. Lava Step Raider is very, very bad. I would never play it. So let's start maybe putting a collection of card piles here. Core Skyfisher is very, very, very good. So we will have that there. Bloodseeker. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield in their opponent's control, you may have them lose 1 life. It's really bad, mainly because it doesn't pass the vanilla test. It's just a 2-mana 1/1. So that'll stay here. Kite Sail is very good, but you need to be an attacking deck. So we'll put this in the bad card pile. This card is kind of the maybe card pile. Lifespring Druid, no, we don't want to splash green just for that card. Vampire Envoy is very good, so we like that. Lagak, we don't want to splash green for. Battle Rattle Shaman, I think is actually really good, because you can put the +2 power on an evasive creature. Like, it turns Vampire Envoy into a really fast clock. So it's like almost like giving a creature unblockability. Like, let's say they had a 3/3 flyer, then the Envoy's not going to get him for any damage, but if you can make it a 3/4 with this, it would win the combat, so they just can't block. So it's like giving a creature unblockable in that sense. So I think it's very good. Silent Skimmer, Evasion, good blocker, very good. Wow, alright, so it's 4 drops, and they're all flyers are really, really good. Torch Slinger is, I think, medium. It costs double red, which isn't good when we don't have that much fixing. And the 2/2 body is not that relevant in the late game, and the shock isn't that relevant either. We need the best creatures in the format are usually more than 2 toughness, so kind of a medium card there. The Translator, I think, is quite strong because it's good power and toughness, and it can help ramp us to the Devastator. Battle Herda, I have him in my deck. Very good at stopping ground attacks. And Grotag Thrasher, I think, is good, but again, you have to be able to attack with him, so it kind of goes with the Kite Sail plan. there, and Devastator is very good. Other cards to look at: Hideous End is insanely good, one of the best removal spells in the format. Pellet Darkness, again, only works if you're attacking. Same card, just actually this card's really bad. That's a good sideboard card if they have a lot of X1s, but other than that, I wouldn't play it. Puncturing Light, really good removal. Flame Slash, really good removal. I actually think Searing Light is quite playable in this format. There's a lot of creatures that it can kill, and it's very cheap. So I really like these 14 cards. Don't like these 5 cards at all. And these 4 cards are only medium. So let's look at the rest of his sideboard and see what options we have. Walking Atlas is not playable. Don't want to be wasting a card just to put more lands into play. We do have 2 utility lands in blue. They come into play tapped, but it would be interesting to analyze the blue. I think Mysteries of the Deep is insanely strong. 5 mana, draw 3. It's basically an uncommon, so I think that's really good. Royal Mage's Trick. I play that in my main deck. It cycles and it makes combat impossible for 1 turn. For your opponent, you either fog them or you can block, and they play a trick, and then you just wreck them, re-trick them. Incubator Drone's good. Venerary Teacher is not really playable. You need too many level up guys. Containment Membrane, that's very, very good removal. Into the Royal is playable because it can cycle, but the double blue is a little tough. Eel Umbra is basically similar to like a negate type effect and can sometimes save your creature from removal without making the totem armor fall off, and sometimes can win a creature combat, so it's situationally good. I'd say good sideboard card. And then Wind Zendicon's actually pretty strong too because flying, it's like a 2/2 haste flyer, which is strong. Spell Pierce more sideboard worthy than anything, in case they have good targets, but the blue has got some promise. Let's look at the other cards. We cut green, so let's see if green has anything else. Yeah, green is really weak. Green has basically nothing that I want. Check the red. Double red for 4/3 is playable, but not that good. This is okay because it can kill an X1. Everything at Boiling Earth is a good sideboard card. But wouldn't main deck any of that. Dread Drone. I like this card, but unlikely to be very good if they have any random scions or ground creatures lying around. It trades with everything, and the 2/0/1s it makes would be only good for the Eldrazi Devastator. We don't have really any other mana sinks. Good sideboard, Billy Get Scorpion, Perish of Thoughts, good against removal maybe. Yeah, I don't really like any of these cards. Bone Splinters would be good with Dread Drone, but we don't have that many other token makers. Narrow Escape, decent sideboard against an aggro deck with some removal. Save your guy, gain some life, not bad. Onto War Cleric, the card is very, very good. I believe the only ally that we have is Vampire Envoy, but that's still like a really good combo. I'd play it. Fortified Rampart, very good, just stops a lot of ground creatures, gets us to the late game better. Feather Cub, very good because Journey to Nowhere, Isolation Zone, and Umbras, etc. exist. So there's obviously some cards in this sideboard that I'm very happy with and I like. So can we get them into a shell here? So first, I want to show you JMason's week number 2, version 2. So then he said this was the second version that he played. And so this deck, I think, is a little bit better. He decided to cut red and added blue. We're playing 3 green sources plus the Evolving Wilds for Blister Pod, Lifespring Druid, Saddleback Legak. The only reason to include Blister Pod in this deck would be if we played Bone Splinters as well. Other than that, Blister Pod is just the worst. So one of my rules for sealed is, how happy are you if you top deck this card in the late game? Because most games are going to come down to top decking in the late game, right? You're not going to curve out and face aggro decks very often, or at least decks that can kill you very quickly. So Blister Pod on turn 1 isn't even that good in this deck. So again, I'm just not a fan of these green cards. They don't fit the plan of what he's trying to do. You can easily just play 18 lands and cut the Lifespring Druid and just help your mana out that way a little bit. So, Sails the Kite Sail, Eel Umbra. I don't know what we're putting Eel Umbra on. We don't have that many early game creatures. So yeah, at least we got the Containment Membrane into the deck, the Incubator Drone, the Royal Mage's Trick, the Mysteries of the Deep. So he realized the blue cards were good, which is good. But we cut red, which we lost a removal spell, and yeah, we lost a Searing Light too. So not necessarily sure that I like this build the best. So let me show you what I built. JMason Week 2 Baker's build. So I decided to go Esper Splash Red and cut the green entirely, except I am playing Fertile Thicket. And I actually learned this trick from LSV during one of the Pro Tour Battle for Zendikar drafts that he played. If you're going to run a card with Converge, like Royal Mage's Trick, let's see if we can get this display back up. Preview right there, cool. So if you're going to run a card like Royal Mage's Trick, we're going to want the ability to hit it off the 4th color mana, if possible. And Fertile Thicket is almost like another Evolving Wilds because it can search for, you know, an island, a mountain, a plains, or a swamp. So it's an interesting card. We can also play it, use the ability, turn 2, play island, put Wind Zendikon on the Fertile Thicket, and then let's say it dies, then we can replay the Fertile Thicket and find another color of mana. So again, I really like these Zendikon auras because they let us rebuy abilities, and every land that has unique abilities is helpful. Because if we're going to play 18 because we want the game to go late and we want to hit all of these land drops, then we want our lands to actually do work for us. So this card I find to be particularly good, hopefully in the late game. But Soaring Seacliff on Eldrazi Devastator is going to be very devastating when they cannot block it. They might have the ground locked up, but an 8/9 Trample Flyer is pretty unreal. We get to play all the best removal in the pool. So we get to play Flame Slash, Searing Light, Puncturing Light. What else do we got here? The Containment Membrane, Hideous End, Royal Mage's Trick, Pseudo Removal, and some card draw. So what else? What else does this build offer us? Well, we get the Cub, the Rampart, and the Ondu War Cleric. So 3 white cards that are both easy to cast on our curve, since white is our most color mana that we're playing. And we got the Cleric Envoy combo. Don't really have that many combos in general, but it's just more low drops to pick up things for the Skyfisher. Otherwise, the Skyfisher is really going to set us back. But Skyfisher can also pick up some of these utility lands, like give a creature flying or look at the top 3. And we even have the sweet combo of being able to look at the top 3, put a card on top, next turn play Evolving Wilds, and then shuffle 2 cards away. Basically, the poor man's Brainstorm. And so Flame Slash, again, I'm splashing red because Flame Slash is too good. It's too efficient, and we need removal. Kills 4 toughness flyers. Like in my pool, for example, it kills Wavewing Elemental, which is the best card in my pool. So it's really good. And then Battle Rattle Shaman for all the good reasons that we talked about earlier. Like, it's pretty cool to like make Silent Skimmer a 2/4 attacker and be able to deal 4 damage potentially with it. Yeah, or make this guy a 5/3 first strike attacker. That's a pretty big game. So yeah, I think the effect that this guy can create on the game is very, very, very strong. And Translator over the Dread Drone for the size of the body. So we just got some good fat. We've got some good power and toughness. The mana is obviously a little bit lacking, not the best. We could obviously benefit from like more Evolving Wilds and Prophetic Prism and Holdout Settlement, etc. But I'm pretty clearly pleased with the power level of the cards in the main deck, at least. I suspect this deck has plenty of removal, can get to the late game, and has a lot of flying and evasion guys, and stops the ground really well. Has the biggest creature in the format. I think this deck could win some games. It might not be a better deck than other decks out there, but it has a lot of good sideboard cards too. So Kite Sail for when flying is super relevant, or when they're a defensive deck too. Yeah, Narrow Escape for when they have removal. It helps you gain some life. Again, against a removal deck, Yulumbra could be good. Into the Royal didn't make the cut because of the double blue. We want to avoid double red cards, double blue cards. Same thing with the Torch Singer. That's not enough impact for a 5-drop. But look at, so add these all in. Shrivel could be really good off the sideboard. Bone Splinters and Dread Drone could be good. Yeah. Leaf Arrow could be good. It's a little hard to splash it, but if they have like a lot of small flyers or something. But so the deck has a lot of sideboard options. So yeah, take a look at this deck, and hopefully this helps give you a little insight on how I build. I'm basically building again for the late game. I want to play all the best removal that we can, because they catch us up if we stumble on mana. I play 18 lands. I choose to draw first. I want to hit as many land drops as possible. We have 4 lands that come into play tap, so some of them, the Thicket and the Depths, and the Wilds, we don't mind playing early. Seacliff we want to use to be able to get in for extra damage on any of these big guys, ideally. But yep, that's the deck. So the mana is, again, something to look through, just so you guys know how I do this. Alright, so start with the easiest one. Red on the splash is the Michael Jacob rule is take the amount of symbols 2, divide it by 2 equals 1, and then add 1 is 2. So we want at least 2 ways to get mountains into the deck. And we actually kind of have 2.5. 1 is the mountain, 2 is the Evolving Wilds, and 3 would be Fertile Thicket, which doesn't exactly find it, but Evolving Wilds isn't always going to find mountain either. So I say this is about a half of a card, and this is about a half of a card, so that equals about 2. We've really tried to limit the amount of double blue, double black, and double red, etc. So the only splash card here that's double is Hideous End, but it's just too good. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, divided by 2 is 2.5, round up to 3, plus 1 is 4. So we want at least 4 black sources, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we'll count these 2 as a half, so we have like 5. Blue, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we need same. We want 4 sources, but we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have a little cushion there, and you want little extra cushions on cards that are deeper. And then with white, we have 10 white sources. So that's divided by 2 is 5, add 1 is 6. We want at least 6 white sources. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Plus the Thicket and the Wilds would be 7. So the mana's not the worst in the world. So I don't know if I'd be happy to play this deck, but I definitely think this deck would have a decent shot at winning. So yeah, that's the second deck doctor for JMason. Hopefully, you can comment on it and see what you think of my build, and maybe give me some insight into which cards you think would have been good or bad based on the games that you played out here. And as always, if anybody else has any interesting pools, or let's say you did the reroll and you got a new pool, you're unsure of how to build it, obviously take a stab at it and play your matches out and stuff. But if you want me to analyze it, I'd be more than happy to. Thanks for watching.